Good evening. It is time. I am Shelley Woodruff. I am one of the pastors here at First Baptist Church of Decatur, and I just wanted to say a quick word of welcome. Welcome to this space. Welcome to a conversations event. These are events where our church gets to partner with Georgia Center for the Book and one of our local independent bookstores to bring conversations that matter to our community. And I don't know about you, but I didn't realize until this morning I woke up and knew I was coming to this, how thirsty I was to be in community and to be reminded that our independent bookstores that we have so many amazing of in Decatur, thank you so much, Karis, they are a form of resistance. And then to be reminded that we are not alone. I'm so grateful tonight in a sanctuary space of all places to hear such powerful words that our voices and our bodies are resistance all on their own and powerful enough for that. And I just cannot wait to hear and be challenged by what is going to be brought to us by these two amazing women and voices this evening. So thank you for taking time for being here tonight. It means a lot to each of us as individuals, but it definitely means a lot to us as a community to be able to do this. So without further ado, I want to open this up to ER from Karis.
Thank you, Pastor Shelley. Thank you to the Georgia Center for the Book and the First Baptist Church of Decatur. It is always really a pleasure to be in this space. It is a sanctuary space. I think as more and more spaces are going to be contested, I am always grateful to know where my friends are. And this space is always such a warm and welcoming space to us and to the authors that we love. And so thank you to all of the volunteers who make this a home away from home for Karis and for our communities. Thank you all for coming out this week, tonight. I know for some of us it's really hard to continue to go out, but community requires us to see one another, sit next to each other, be in physical space with one another. And that's how we're gonna get through. So I'm really, really glad to see so many faces that I recognize and so many new faces as well. Tonight's really important. You know, Karis just celebrated our 50th anniversary. Thank you. We officially were celebrating all last week, but we kind of added this on as a bonus. We were like, well, we're gonna add Tricia's event on because we knew no matter what happened, we would want the spirit of this event to be part of how we go forward. And so the spirit of this event really is a trickster spirit, and you're gonna hear more about that. But the trickster spirit doesn't let anybody abuse it. And I think that's what I want to hold. There are many lineages of trickster spirits, but we all can bring our inner trickster spirit to the fights ahead, right? We are more open-hearted, we are cleverer, and we're more able to see the sort of secret holes, right, in the fences, in the briar patch, in the nests, all those things, right? And I'm saying the big we. There are a lot of different identities and bodies and lineages in this room, but the we that is open-hearted and loving and wants a better way and wants liberation for us all, that's the we I'm talking about. And I believe that we exists, and I believe that we're gonna get there together. So in that spirit, I want to introduce Tayari Jones. Tayari Jones is one of Atlanta's best and most generous authors. You know her, I am sure, from all of her work, but probably from An American Marriage. An American Marriage was an incredibly well-respected and well-received book. It was an Oprah's book club selection and also appeared on Barack Obama's summer reading list. You may also know her as the author of Silver Sparrow, Leaving Atlanta, and several other anthologies and books. Tayari is also just an incredible interviewer and conversation partner, a generous person to other authors. And so we were really excited to have her here tonight. She is joined tonight by the woman of the hour, Tricia Hersey. Tricia is a multidisciplinary artist, theologian, escape artist, and founder of the Nap Ministry. She's the global pioneer and originator of the Rest as Resistance and Rest as Reparations frameworks, and collaborates with communities all over the world to create sacred spaces where the liberatory, restorative, and disruptive power of rest can take hold. Tricia's work is seated within the soils of Black radical thought, somatics, Afrofuturism, womanism, and liberation theology. She's a Chicago native who believes in daydreaming, porch sitting, and poetry. Please put your hands together for Tayari Jones and Tricia Hersey.
Hey, y'all. I'm so excited to see y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Amazing.
Tricia, I cannot tell you how happy I am that we are gathered here in this moment to talk about this book. I feel that this coming together, this gathering, this conversation is something that we all needed, and we thank you not only for this book, but for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
I feel like in my world, everybody knows what the Nap Ministry is. Everybody, all kinds of people. But one thing, if anything, we've learned is that everybody doesn't know everything. Like, we know the people we know.
Yeah.
But the Nap Ministry, the reach of your work, your books, your ideas is growing. Your circle is always growing. So I would just kind of like to get back to basics and ask you, what is the Nap Ministry?
That's a great question. You know, I've been answering that question and thinking about it since I started the work. You know, the work, I guess I'll just start by time dating it. I guess that could be helpful, is that I started experimenting with the idea of rest as resistance on my own body in 2013 when I started seminary at Emory University. Are there any Emory people here? Yeah, hey, good. Okay, so I think that's the beginning. This didn't just come out of me being like, I want to be an influencer online. I want to put up, I was just like, who even knew it would be called the Nap Ministry? That came way, way, way later. So the Nap Ministry is an examination and a meditation on the idea of rest as a justice tool, rest as a spiritual practice. It is deeply an experimentation. Like, I never knew what it will all be, and now, even now, it's still, we're in this laboratory, this playground, and so it really started off as a performance art installation where I would go and set up beds, you know, in different places, and I would read from like slave narratives and set up altars around resting. And so I'm literally like that performance artist lady, you know, like I think people forget about that I am like one of those little wacky performance artists. Like, what are you up to, you know? The ritualist, always doing like the experimental stuff. So the Nap Bishop is a persona. She is a person, a persona that I created. I love persona work to really get at this idea. And so I flipped the head on the idea of a ministry, the idea of a Black woman proclaiming herself a bishop. You know, I'm in seminary, there aren't many Black women bishops, you know, so it was like, even in the church that I was raised in, women can't even be ordained. And so it was just me flipping the head on the idea of a ministry. And so it's really experimentation. It's a disruption. I hope it to be a community disruption around the idea of rest as a resistance tool. It's a disruption against the lies that have been told by us. And so I guess that comes into play with installations, lectures, the books, community education, people all over the world reimagining what the work could be, but it really started with the signature program, which was the collective nap experience, where we brought people together with yoga mats, blankets, pillows, and curated. It started here in Atlanta, so I curated spaces all over the city. Sometimes one person would come and I would be like, okay, let's do this. I'm spraying lavender oil and I got the little pillow, you good? Like, it was just me, but sometimes it'd be 40 people there. So it was just these free collective rest events where people could come and lay down. They would wake up, but then we would have education. So if anybody would ask what the work is, I would say it's the center is those events and those like installations and those live taste and see moments where we're resting together.
And you know, the title of your manifesto is Rest as Resistance. And I will ask you, rest as resistance to what?
Yeah. Well, you know, the first tenet of the NAP ministry is rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against white supremacy and capitalism. So if you don't remember anything about the work, it is a disruption, it is a pushing back, a literal pushing back, a metaphysical, a spiritual pushing back, a political. It says, no, you can't have me. And so it resists the structures, the dominant culture that makes us believe that we aren't enough. So patriarchy can definitely be thrown in there, of course, and but ableism, but white supremacy and capitalism. If you really just continue to dig into those, they all include that. They're in there, and so it disrupts. And so I will also say that the NAP ministry also started with me studying cultural trauma, and that's what I was studying at Emory. When I was in seminary, I was looking at the idea of what traumas hold in our bodies. And so this historic examination of plantation labor, being here in the South, in Atlanta, I was able to get my hands on some really amazing archival documents. And so me being an archivist, a historian, in seminary, an artist, a tired Black woman, it just all came together. An activist my entire life. And so, yeah, that's where the NAP ministry lands.
I have to tell you that after encountering your work, there are certain words now that I cannot hear without kind of getting the heebie-jeebies. Like, whenever I hear someone using the word grind in a positive way, yes, I feel a way. Like, that is now such a part of my worldview. Nice. Yeah, it's changed the way that I approach my life and the work that I do.
Good, okay, I love that. The deprogramming is happening.
Well, because once you think about it, you're like, yeah, no, that's not that good of an idea.
Yeah, why are we saying? Yeah, machines grind. Grinding is like so violent to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes I have, students like, I'm just, they have a dream and they're like, I'm just grinding. I'm like, oh no, don't, baby, no.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Take a nap, and let's kind of think about it.
Let's flow. Yeah, let's get into flow state. Yeah.
And so with Rest as Resistance, the book, the manifesto, it's the words that do all the talking. Now with this new book, We Will Rest, this book is an art object. Like the book, it's almost like the book itself requires you to slow down to appreciate all these details.
Yes, it does.
I heard that it took 18 months to design it. Is that true?
18 months. It was already written in 18 months of designing, drawing, picking colors, fighting for that silk ribbon. I fought for that silk ribbon. Y'all better use it. You better love it. I got into it with these people. I went toe-to-toe on Zooms with them like, I need a purple silk ribbon. Mail it to me so I can feel it because I don't want you picking it and I don't know what it is. Yeah, so I wish I could have went to New York and went into the design studio. Everything was done virtual. I was like, send me overnight packages. I have to touch every single thing that goes in the book. The paper, I don't want no cheap paper. I know y'all, send me that, what's the good stuff? The stuff y'all got, I want that. And so they was like, okay, But so, yeah, that's there.
When I touched this ribbon, I know everyone interprets things differently, but when I touched the ribbon, I was like, oh, this is a shout out to my bonnet.
Yeah, the silky silk, yeah.
So when I looked at the book, I was struck by the artwork in it, and just the way, like in some ways, everyday activities and objects are kind of elevated and transformed, just like this it's a woodcut of the couch, like the couch as a sacred space. And this idea that you don't have to go on some crazy expensive vacation to rest.
Yes.
Tell us about the couch in your house.
Oh, so I love talking about the couch. So there is a section here. It's called The Escape Plan Begins, the couch as refuge. And so I wanted to write about objects. You know, I love the idea of objects holding space and the idea of us being in collaboration with them. You know, I'm so glad you said we don't have to go away to a retreat, because that's where I've been watching people. They get really confused with my work, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing rest. I love Tricia. I love the Nat ministry. I'm taking people on a retreat to Bali. It's $5,000, but you can pay in payment plans. We got a payment schedule." I'm like, "Girl, nobody got no payment schedule. We don't need to spend $5,000 to go rest. We have to see this as a telepathic, physical, spiritual, foundational, everyday, on-the-ground movement. We have to be resting now. We have to reimagine what resting is." And so when I first started understanding that I was going on this pace that was unsustainable, I talk about that in the first book, when I first began to start understanding I can't keep up, like I'm killing myself, the couch was there. And so the couch in this small little house that me and my husband's here, and my son, this little small house in East Point, we used to call it the little cottage, because it was just like tiny, and there was a couch. The living room was like Grand Central State. Everything happened in the living room, you know. And so it just became, the first time I saw it, I was like, it was low enough to the ground that I could get on it easily. And I would spend every moment that I wasn't upright on that couch, you know. Like I had to get up 6 o'clock in the morning, go to seminary at Emory, get over there. I didn't have a car. I was taking the bus and the train. And my son was, you know, a little guy, 6, 7 years old. I got to get him to, it was just like everything happened on this couch island. So I did homework on the couch. My son's homework, I entertained him, I daydream, and that's the beginning moments of me actually sleeping and resting and just saying, I know I have 1,000 pages to read for class, but I don't care. I got to the let the chips fall where they may moment. I pray none of you get there, but that's where I was, and it was a radical leap had to happen. And so the couch became, go out into the world, come back, the couch is there. Go back. So it was like this collaboration between this sacred thing where I began to have these vivid dreams. The name for the organization came to me in a dream when I was resting on this couch. Because remember, it wasn't a name. It was just me like trying to live and thrive through resting. So I used my body as experimentation. What would have happened if I just slept and didn't do that homework? What would happen if I came home? Would I drop out of school? You know, would I be able to keep up? Will I feel better? Will I stop having migraines? Will I be able to get a word from my ancestors? Will I feel connected to them? And every answer was yes. You know, everything that happened, I was getting better grades. Immediately, I started to feel so much better, because brain science tells us that we need to rest when we're learning something so new. So the couch was the sacred object. I also talk about the bathtub as well. So it was those two, the bathtub and the couch in that little small home. I had no money. I was a student, you know, scraping together $25 sometimes. And so those two objects are already in my home. And then the chair that my grandmother would take her naps in as well. I talk about that as well.
I mean, it's so empowering, the idea that we all have everything we need to change our lives. I feel like so many important movements, corporations come and buy them, right? Like when people first started talking about self-care, and then now you get all these emails saying, we can sell you some self-care, you know, buy this new dress, it's self-care, you know, like everything, they're gonna sell it to you now. And I like the way that with the couch, it resists that thing, like you have a space. Just, you know, vacuum that, clean that area up a little bit, and you're good to go. You have your place already. It's in you, and it is your right. It's not something you have to buy.
Yeah. The second tenet of the NAP ministry, I'm going to just go through all the tenets I see through in this, is our bodies are a site of liberation. So wherever our bodies are, we can find rest, we can find healing. And so the somatics of this work, I was taking beautiful somatics classes. I see a dancer friend here up at Emory. I was like the older adult student who was the seminarian who used to be over in the dance department taking dance classes to 20-year-olds. They'd be like, what are you doing in here? I was like, they said I could take classes everywhere here. That's what Emory told me. And so I was in there balleting, and I was just doing it. So the somatics classes that really helped me to begin to understand what it means to embody a rest message, that it doesn't matter if you're in prison. There's people in prisons who are incarcerated reading my book. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you have a body, and our bodies are divine. Our bodies are this sacred dwelling place. It is a site of the deepest liberation right here, right now, with each other in community. And so that, I believe, uplifts this idea of the couch, the bed, whatever you have, your body sitting and just staring and looking out the window. All these things are present and with us if we believe that our bodies have this deep amount of liberation and that it's a liberatory place.
And your body is a place to which you can escape. And this book is subtitled The Art of Escape. In what ways is escape an art?
I think I'll be answering and thinking about the idea of what's an artist my whole life, and what does it mean to be creative, and what's an artist? I always think about that. For years, people would ask me, I used to teach poetry and writing. Before I became the NAP bishop, I was the poetry teacher, the cool poetry teacher who came to Chicago public schools with the little children, and I would be teaching blues poems to 5-year-olds, and I was the resident poet who came in, and so I would always be like, these young children, they're like 5 years old, and they're literal artists. And I would tell them that, I'm not an artist, I don't know how to paint. I'm not an artist, I don't know how to, I'm like, but I think when I think of artistry and creativity, I think of spirituality. I think of the idea that our bodies, and just being alive, our lungs collaborating with us tapping into this energy and space that is present in the divinity of who we are, and that's where the spiritual practice of the ideas of liberation and rest come in. And so I think everyone is an artist. I think if you're living, if you're breathing, if you're waking up and slicking that hair back into a ponytail and it's looking cute, you done did a little thing with it, you got $10 and you done fed a whole family with them, like my mother would do, beans and rice, and the way that we can improvise and shift and be creative and think and pivot and be flexible and subversive, this is art to me. And so I think I like to bring down the idea of what this high art idea, I went to, you have a son who's like the high art guy. He's 17. We call him Mr. E-God, because he's a jazz musician. He's a brilliant actor. He's a dancer. And so he's studying and training and always has another bill for me to pay, for this class and this new instrument. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I'm going to get it because I trust the art and I want you to. But then I think about my mother who finished high school barely and would repaint and interior design our whole house with yellow and red duct tape and paint and and just be beautiful and draw. And so my mother is an artist, and so she would draw and paint. She just barely finished high school, but to me she is the ultimate artist. And so I think the art of escape is in our believing that we can be free.
I was wondering if you could read a little for us so that we can hear this book in your beautiful voice.
Okay, all right. And the book is in audio too. I'm the narrator. If people are into audio books, Libro, I'll read a little. I'm gonna read, the book I'll say is broken up into 10 steps. So step 1 through 10. I didn't put a table of contents in here. The editor wanted to, and I said, no, I want people to just get lost in this. You're going to look for something, you're just going to keep, I'm already on, just I wanted you to dig and the experimentation of getting in a book. And so I'm going to read a little bit from the first steps. This book is a sacred object. You are a sacred object. This book is a manual on care. You are an escape artist. How to be an escape artist, an incomplete list. Step 1. The first step for morphing into an escape artist is belief. You must believe you have the power to refuse. You must believe you have been gifted with everything necessary. You must be a trickster. No matter what, you must not show fear. We are abundant. I have heard from many of you that it's been difficult to rest because you don't know how. Give thanks for the not knowing. Isn't it exciting to be able to develop, discover, and experiment with your own liberation? I am the trickster, the one who got away, the one who always knew, the one able to transmute grief to rest. I am the trickster, the one who refused, the one leaping from the tops of mountains into a bed of feather pillows. I am the trickster, assigned as the debt collector by my ancestors, resting to reclaim the dream space stolen. Pay up. I am the trickster, the one who squinted her eyes, cocked her head, recognized the lies, peeped the scam. You are here. Thank you for living. Thank you for resisting. Thank you for caring for each other. Thank you, divine. Thank you for resting, for silence, for abolition, for sleep, for Sabbath, for daydreaming, for imagination work, for ancestors' work, for subversion, for escape, for thriving in a culture focused on destruction, for freedom dreaming, for embodiment, for disturbing the idea that we are powerless. Thank you for your maroonage. Thank you for your rest, for your love practices, for transformation, for slowing down, for remixing oppression to liberation. The time to rest is now. You are divine. Let that soak in for 3 minutes. I'll hold back spring while you soak. You are miracle in light. No edits necessary, not needing to be fixed. You are archive, protected document. All is well. Will you rest? I'm writing this book so you will know you are not being unreasonable, that you are not imagining things, that your body is tired and your mind and spirit feel numb because the systems want it that way. They have worn you into a pulp. There is life after death. there is spiritual resurrection. That's step one.
This weekend, this was a rough week. This has been a rough 8 days. And I just needed to get away out of my own home, and I had won a night in a hotel in a raffle. A raffle, I know. It came with dinner, it was great. So I packed my little bag and drove across town, and I checked into this hotel, and I had this book with me. And I went to get my free dinner that I had won. Although my drink was not free, and I think that was a little bit of a scam, but it's fine. So I sat there, I was alone, so I sat up at the bar and I ordered my meal, and I was just reading this book, and I was so overcome with emotion in that even though I am, familiar with the NAP ministry, and I feel like this is something that requires constant maintenance, because I realized sitting up there at that bar it was Saturday evening, that I am exhausted again. Like you have to stay on top of it. Yeah. And this provided kind of a permission structure it validated what I was feeling, and it also gave me a roadmap as to what to do. And just let it go, just rest, shut it down. Like I think that it's easy to feel like it's up to me to fix this whole world. If I don't fix this, it's all gonna go to hell. Like I'm the only thing in between everything, like just me. And I felt like it was such a nurturance. I mean, I texted you after I finished it, because I felt, how Mari Evans has that poem, The Black Woman, and she says at the end, "Look upon me and be renewed." I felt renewed. I felt rested after just reading this.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I did what I came to do. That's what I wanted. I told them that. I said, they were like, we don't get what you're talking about this book, Trish. When first the editing process and the publisher's I was like, just trust me. I have deep vision for this. I had like a 30-page mood board. I knew the person who I wanted to do the drawings. I said, let me tell you how gangster it got. I'm gonna tell you how much I was fighting for this book, because I was like, the people need a sacred object. They need a document. This is like the abolitionist pamphlets that they were printing up, and they were burning them because they didn't want this. I said, this is a thing that's on the ground somewhere while people are on there, they're walking and I'm thinking about the Underground Railroad. This is like a book that would be there. Like, what's that little thing, And it's like, you open up like, oh my gosh, like this is a whole thing of trying to uplift me as a human. And so I told them that if I could not get the person, George McCalman, to do the art for this book and be the designer, take y'all advance back. I don't want to do the book. That's how cold I was like, no, I was like, all money ain't good money. I don't want y'all in-house. I don't want the in-house artist there. It has to be, I need a black person who's going to understand the psychology of what this is happening. He is handpicked. He is a brilliant illustrator. We are syncing up spiritually. He has to do this book. And they said, okay. And so we worked for 18 months designing the book after it had been written, so all the small little things. It's so beautiful to be in this church because it's so gorgeous here, but, the book was also inspired by vintage hymnals, anybody know about the hymnals, and vintage prayer books, illuminated manuscripts. Anybody who's over at Candler, they have beautiful, Pitt's Library has a beautiful antique archival section of just illuminated manuscripts, just to go look at these documents. So I'm like an archive document girl. And then the abolitionist pamphlets, I think about them and the idea of something that is written being so inflammatory, something that people want to hide, like they're banning books and they're, I want it to be feel like something you could pick up and you can read it in one sitting. Like, you can just be like, oh, I'm going to look through a couple pages, but then by the end of it, you're at the end because you're looking at the pictures, you're looking at the art. There's a flip book section in there. It's just like all the art is really hand-picked. And so I wanted people to feel like they have a companion to cuddle with. I wanted it to be like a cuddle buddy, like, I'll put this next to me in the bed, and I feel seen, and like I'm human, and they've lied, and I'm okay. I just want, I want it to be like, yeah, girl, yes.
Oh, yeah, like that line when it says you are not imagining things.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like the world, it's gaslights us.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you're like, am I crazy? Somebody's crazy. Is it me? I don't think it's me, but it might be me.
No, they do gaslight, absolutely. I mean, I named that in the first book, and when the ministry just started, I named it from the very beginning. I've stayed very clear that we've been brainwashed, and that the work of the NAP ministry, all the tools we use, the IG page, the REST events, now the books, the everything is just tools to help with the deprogramming process, to help deprogram. So whatever tool I could use to help repair and to help like bring people back to be like, you're not tripping. Like, the pace of this culture is unsustainable. It's violent. It's machine level. You are not a machine. You are a human, divine human being. And so I think just saying that is enough sometimes.
And I love the size of this book.
Yes.
You can take it with you.
Yes.
I've just had it with me every day since this weekend, and I just, I let my hands linger on it.
Yeah.
I noticed that when I just take my quiet time and look at the details, like this is a book, it's too pretty for a book jacket. Like the book itself is beautiful.
Thank you.
And then your author photo in the back is drawn instead of photography. Did y'all see that? Look.
Yeah, he drew me.
Do you love it? Do you love it? Yes. I just every little thing about this book and the implied worthiness of the reader to be given such a beautiful book that addresses you directly.
Yes.
Like, that's a gift. That's
Thank
a
you.
gift. And I can tell that, I know you said you didn't want the cheap paper. You can touch this.
No.
It's nice.
It's good
I'm
paper.
like, this is nice.
It's good paper. Yeah, that's it. I had to really go toe to toe with them, but they understood, and they had a vision. I had a vision for this that was really, I wanted to feel. I said, this is medicine for the resistance. If there is, I don't know if it is, but if there is a movement and a resistance movement starting around rest, there needs to be some medicine, as we journey on this, because it's not going to be easy. And so the manifesto, the first book, kind of laid the framework. We needed to really get the framework laid, and that people can use that to go and bounce on. And then the cards were just another way, because some people may not read the book, but they'll pull a card. And then this final is like the final medicine. It's like, okay, here's a collectible gift book. When I first, I don't see how many people know about this, but when I first thought about this second book, I was like, I know I want it to be small. And I don't know if y'all know, but anybody up on the Daily Bread? Anybody got the, okay. Raise your hand if you about the, okay, the Daily Bread is there for us. The Daily Bread is this small little free devotional that has been printed for, like my grandmother used to have it in her purse. Wait, you have one? Let me see it. Put it up. Yes, that's the Daily.
Your grandmother will send it to you when she think you've fallen off the path.
Your grandmother sent it to you. Let me see it. Yeah. Oh my God. I knew somebody was gonna have one, because no matter where you go, yes. I was like, I want something like the Daily Bread. They was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you don't know about the Daily Bread? Yeah. Everybody had the Daily Bread, and it's free. You can they just send it to you. Your grandmother will send it to you in a little envelope when you're in college. Like, girl, here goes something for the, And it's just little like, it's just these beautiful words and devotions just here for you. It's like a companion. It's so historical. So I love historic documents and all the old school pamphlets. And I think that the religious tracts are so violent and horrible. Like, I've done research of collecting the old school religious tracts. Will be like on the front. I have a lot of old ones. It'll be on the front of it. Do you want to go to hell? And then you open it up and it's like, what? And it's like fire on it. It's like, y'all. So I love how those look, though. I love the printing of them and the paper. But I was like, the message is trash. Yeah, so I used a lot of that, like when I was thinking about what some special things that can be done. Thank you for letting us see the Daily Bread. So yeah, they have a website, and when I was in Australia, I was stranded in Australia last year. I went for a beautiful arts festival, and this is a Daily Bread story. And we were stranded in Melbourne. Me and my family, we went over there and another artist to do this huge installation around art and around resting. We tried to get out, we couldn't get out. They sent us back home. We was at the airport with it was like, the flight has been canceled, like for what, we don't know when it's gonna get out. It was like almost a week. And then it was like, we got a new flight. It was like, yes, okay, we out of here. We went out to eat that night. I got a notice on my phone, that one been canceled. It was just like, I'm never getting out of Melbourne. And so they was like, my travel agent literally called me at 3 in. She was like, there's a flight, it leaves at 6. I was like, 6? It's 3 a.m. We're all waking up, like you're in your sleep. She's like, if you can get to the airport, you can get back. And so I got to the airport barely. I wanted to cry, and I saw this old, elderly Asian woman. And she started opening up her Daily Bread, and I was like, oh, was that a Daily Bread? She was like, you want to do a lesson with me? I said, yes. So I went and sat with her, and she took me through it was a section about trust and faith. I said, yeah, you don't even know what this feels like. My husband was like, would you get over here? We got to get to the gate. I'm like, me and Auntie vibing right now. But she had a Daily Bread. She's like, you know that? I said, I know the Daily Bread. So I'll say it's global, it's everywhere. So I wanted a book that felt like that. Like you can put it in your purse, the weight of it is smaller, than a regular size book.
And it's a gift to give. It's a gift to give to someone, to give this story of rest. I do think the art seduces you, but your words are the magic.
Thank you.
Now, I have a couple more questions before we open it up to everyone else, but one thing I want to know is, what's next?
Yeah. I want to go back into the kooky performance art vibe. I'm trying to go deep into I want to just get with a bunch of artists and just collaborate and go back into I used to do guerrilla art spectacles outdoors in Chicago. I would take over like Harold's Chicken Shacks and make them yoga studios. I have video of this online. I would do all these little performance arts where I wouldn't tell them I was coming. I would do poetry sets at liquor stores. I would just go and just start setting up a stage in front of a liquor store in Chicago and be out there doing poetry when just really community art interventions, something really beautiful. I'm from Chicago, so the South Side's a lot of violence. Gun violence. South Side, woo! Yes, it's always one. There was one in Australia, too, in a crowd of 500 people. I was like, South Side. I was like, this ain't gonna land here. She was like, South Side. I was like, yes. She's from Chicago. So I want to get more into that. I want to go, I would go to sites of where children have been, or anyone had been gunned down, and I would read poetry for 8 hours, like this idea of poetic therapy and poetic meditation. So I would just the community needs healing and we need to hear poetry, and I would just read poetry on street corners in front of funeral homes and do a spectacle where I did a durational performance piece for maybe 8 or 9 hours. I read every single Gwendolyn Brooks poem aloud at a festival, the Bud Billiken Festival in Chicago. I want to get more into the little you might be walking down the street, you see me sitting at a little desk or something, like nap advice, and then you can come and I give some nap advice. So I'm really digging into the art, the smaller performance art, community art installations. I'm really digging that. I got away from that. That's how the Nap Ministry started, but once it blew up online, then the book came, it was just travel, lecture, write. I've been writing, I've written 3 things in the last 4 years. I got my book deal in 2021. The first book came out in 2022, and then the deck, and then this. I was writing the deck and the book at the same time, 2 screens up. So I want to break from the writing process. I want y'all to just love what's here. Yeah, I want a nap. I want them to just be in the world and see where they go and how people engage with them, how they move with them. People are doing things all over the world. The first book has been translated in Italian, Korean, and Portuguese, and we just picked up Spanish. So Spanish will be out next year, and then I'm gonna be going to Dubai and Morocco next year. I went last year to Amsterdam and Australia. So it is a global movement, and I really want to just lean into like doing the art. As long as I got $20, I can go get a candle or something and light them, do a ritual around a candle. I love like these things that like really are simple and artistic and can do some bills of things. And so that's what's next.
Well, we're going to open it up to questions, and as people approach the microphone, can you give us one good piece of nap advice?
Ooh.
Two.
Okay, well, people love a nap. People love advice. They love a tip. I think it's problematic, but I'll give you something. I think that's why the steps in this book, when it's like step 1 through 10, that's a play on y'all always wanting some steps. Y'all want everything, and it don't exist. So you'll see in this, like, it's a play on that. I think one advice is that you schedule your time. You schedule your rest time. It doesn't have to be a nap. It doesn't have to be sleep. It can be for these, 20 minutes, I'm going to stare out the window. I'm going to listen to a song. I'm going to drink tea. I'm going to have a longer bath. You have to be intentional. No one in this system is going to collaborate with you to rest. Like every system, the community will, and this is why community care is important, but every system in this culture is in collaboration for us not to rest. The public schools, need I say churches, like I was raised in church and I'm a trained seminary. My father worked himself to death being a pastor of a church. Like there's a lot of very much burnout culture in the churches. And so like everything is in the culture is like telling you to go and go and go. So schedule your rest, have boundaries around that. And then I would say this, the second one is my favorite one, detox off social media. You have to, we will never be able to push a rest movement forward if you don't have time where you're not consuming so much. This is like sleep science and the idea of what's happening to our brains. We've never been at a time in our history we're consuming so much information. Our brains were not meant to be able to take in so much. It's just, this new technology is taking over the way we think. And so I think I do detoxes where I'm offline, for a month at a time, a weekend. If you can't just do a weekend, just do that, But there's moments that you just need to be intentional about detoxing off social media.
Okay, Tricia, we've got 3 so far to start out with because it's probably going to turn into altar call. But don't forget, she needs to get home and rest. So we're going to start with 3 and see where your essay answers
I'll try
land.
to be concise with them. Yeah.
Hello. I just wanted to know, we are, facing some daunting times ahead, right? Yeah. And, from the South Side, I'm from the South Side, and, community is everything.
Yes.
That's the only way that we've been able to survive there, and really just in general in this country.
Totally.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the interplay between rest and community as we prepare to face what we're going to be facing.
That's a great question because we can't talk about the NAP ministry without talking about community care. When I think about the rest is radical, the rest is resistance movement, in the manifesto, I lay out the idea that none of this will happen. We don't do anything alone. We have to be interconnected and in deep community care. I say community care is the only thing that will save us. I don't mention the word self-care in that book in the 60,000 words. I was very intentional. I don't mention self-care in my work. People just attach it to that. I keep talking about communal care, community care, soul care, the care of our souls, the care of our community. And so we won't be able to make it without that, and I think that that's also why I started the work by I was experimenting on my own body in my home, but then immediately the first thought that I knew, because I'm trained as a womanist, I'm trained as a activist and organizer, I knew this has to be done in a collective. And so I started these collective napping experiences. And when I would host them, people would be like, that's a long name. Do we have to put all that on the flyer? I'm like, yes, it's called the collective. It's not just the nap thing, we need the word collective in there. We need to push the message of being in collective with each other. And so we've had events as large as 500 people sleeping all in one space, as small as one person, but they've done, because I wanted us to see what it feels like to sync up with each other. So people are resting together, waking up from dreaming of the same dreams. That happened in Chicago. People who didn't know each other woke up from a 40-minute nap that I guided, and they were like, tell me your dreams. You know, we have a talk back. It's called the nap talk. And so people share what happened when you were sleeping. Did you rest? And then she was like, I was dreaming about this boat, and I was in a white blue dress, and this woman starts crying. I said, why are you crying? She was like, I had the same dreams. I was like, pick up what and it was literally the same. So the sinking that happens spiritually and how deep sleep is, I believe sleep and resting is a portal. And I believe the more we go there, the more we're gonna get free and wake up. And so to do that with each other in community, to understand that we're gonna have to be the tricksters, the escape artists. I talk about very particular tricksters in this book. Henry Box Brown, he's in the book. My grandmother, Harriet Tubman, like the idea of becoming a trickster, I think we have to do it with each other. And so, yes, this work does not exist without community care and without the collective. It has to be right with each other. If you see restless resistance, you know that's community care. Like they're in the same conversation with each other. They can't exist without each other.
Thank you.
Of
for your
course.
words.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you all so much for this. I have a question about, first of all, just thank you for your work, and I'm so grateful that your book is coming out now at the time it is. Yeah. And thinking about the political moment that we are in over the past week, we've seen so many people, on the one hand, folks saying, I'm checking out, I'm not doing anything else anymore. But on the other hand, there have been a lot of calls to get to work, right? Like, we've got to get to work. There's going to be a lot to do. And I'm thinking about the gift that your work has been coming out starting in 2022 to now. And I'm wondering if you have any advice. I mean, you've already kind of said it, but how might we approach our activism during this incoming administration differently than the ways we've done it in the past?
Number one, I'm an activist. I grew up as an activist. My dad was a union organizer. So this work came out of me working in activist circles. This is the number one message that I feel like I have to say so much, and I just want to keep repeating it because I know repetition is a tool. I love it. I love repeating. So people were like, yeah, is this book just the same book from I said, we're going to repeat because y'all don't listen anyway. So repetition is a tool. That's how we deprogram. You're going to hear it in different ways. And I think one of the great main things I want to let people know is resting is the work. Resting is the protest. Like, it's not like you're resting to recharge your bodies and to get fit and to get right so that you can now go do more. No, that is like, I feel like that's like where it's like, no. Like, we are resting because when we are resting, when we're in this rested state, when we're connected, if you believe rest to be a portal, a place of deep imagination, a place, we're wrecking our bodies, first of all. So I also tell activists, we need you alive. We need you not with diabetes and heart disease and, all these problems, because lack of sleep also contributes deeply to our rest. Is Benjamin here? There's Benjamin. Okay, yes, Benjamin Rice is Emory, and we were on a panel together at a sleep conference. And what is happening to our bodies when we don't sleep? That alone is your activism, because you're going to be dead if you don't sleep. And I mean, I hate to be, but that is the truth. This is what the scientists are telling us. Like, the bad news is if you don't sleep, you're going to be sick and you're going to die. And like, the good news is you need to go to sleep. It's like, people need to understand, this is the hardest thing for Black women to understand, I think, and Black women in activist circles, is that your resting is the protest. You're not resting so you can get up and now make a 20-page document and host an 8-hour organizing meeting and then go and fight with some other people online. No, you're resting because it's your divine right to rest. And I believe that the imagination space that happens in resting will get us quicker to our goals. Our ancestors are saying, I wish that they would lay their butts down, because I got a message from this dimension to share with them that could help them in their movement, but they won't slow down enough to hear it. There has already been work that's been done for us, and we just forget that, whatever, let's do the 8-hour organizing meeting. If we went to sleep during the organizing meeting, we might wake up with a dream and an idea of a new way Toni Morrison said, my favorite Toni Morrison, you can't have it if you can't imagine it. You have to imagine it to have it. And I think that's the part of the rest movement. I say daydream and imagination work. The first book is broken down into 4 pieces: rest, imagination, dream, resist. And so we're missing that little point. It's like a turn. And I'm okay with people kind of like, because I understand how brainwashed we are. But if I can say that the resting is the work, the sleeping, the napping, the getting the word from our ancestors, to replenish our bodies, being able to take on the exhaustion, that is happening. We need to rest, and this is the work. And so when I first started, I would do meetings with activists and organizers, and they thought I was coming with my little lecture series, and I was going to have you got an agenda? I said, yeah, I got an agenda. I'll just give them something fake, I get there, it's like, can we turn off the lights? I brought yoga mats. Let's take a nap. They're like, oh my gosh, I need a nap, and they would be knocked out for 2 hours. And so I feel like this is the key to the work, is that resting is the work, rest is the protest. So thank you for asking that.
Hi, Tricia. Speaking of Black women, I work on a guaranteed income program that helps bridge the wealth gap that we face. And a lot of times in the narrative work, I just hear stories about how people have fallen victim to grind culture as a means of survival. And thinking about you kind of saying all we need is a body and objects like the couch, how would one encourage women kind of in that bucket to see that this is something that's obtainable for them too?
Absolutely. I think history is going to be the thing that helps that, because, in the first book I talk about the Maroons. I talk about the Maroons of North Africa. These were enslaved people on plantations, resting, creating their own temporary spaces of joy and freedom, saying, hey, I see what y'all doing. I know y'all got this little thing called slavery going, but I'm not with that. Bye. It was like they weren't even fugitives. They were like, I just don't subscribe to the system that you have created. And so I talk about the Maroons. I talk about my grandmother. I talk about Harriet Tubman a lot in this book and little in the first one, of the idea that when you read her archives and her words, she talks about the fact that she never was caught, even though there was bounties on her head, dogs chasing her, because she was stopped to pray. Think about that. I mean, it's so deep, because I don't think, it's like, wait, you were running with white men chasing you with dogs, with bounties to kill. If you find her, kill her. And she was stopping by trees and water, streams, and no map, no paper map, but an internal cosmology. Her body is his own technology. The stars are the map. The North Star is on the front of this book. You see the Big Dipper in the North? That's what the star pattern is, yes. And so I want people to tap into that energy. I'm past all this other stuff. I'm past policy being created. I'm like, we have to go in. We have to become tricksters. We got to really start to subversively tap in. And I think the tapping in is not going to be with more. We already know how that works. That's just more trauma. It's going to be with just slowing down enough to understand that there is information in our dreams. There is information in our slowing down. There is healing there. It is not a waste of time. It is a generative state. So I would offer to them, be like my grandmother. She was 3 jobs, suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, and she would sit on her couch every day in between her jobs with her little uniform on, and close her eyes for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I said, what are you doing? Are you asleep? It's like, I'm not asleep. Every shut eye ain't sleep. I'm resting my eyes. I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm listening to God. What was she listening to that allowed her to be able to craft such a beautiful, freedom-inspired life, raising 8 children, Jim Crow survivor of Jim Crow terrorism, left the Deep South, working 2-3 jobs. All of her children are well and beautiful, building her own gardens. We got to just begin to think about crafting these little spaces of freedom and joy for ourselves, and not waiting on anything. So I'll say, close your eyes right now. Rest your eyes right now. Say no more. The boundaries around just saying no is going to really save us. We don't say no enough, particularly women. We want everything is a no. Everything is a yes. I'll do it. just simply saying no sometimes to some of the requests and some of the exposure to your time. Because the thing about it, we don't understand that we are in a capitalist, white supremacist, patriarchal culture. If that's the curriculum you've been given since birth, then we're all agents of it. And so if we have to recognize that in each other, we keep grind culture alive with our expectations, our pushing. You should see how people come at me in emails. I'll be like, I'm on sabbatical. Hi, guys. I can't talk to anybody for a month. They was like, okay, I heard what you were saying, but can we get on the phones next week? Like, it's like we just got to remember to just slowly find ways to find our own spaces, to build spaces with each other that feel protected, that feel safe, to say no, and to understand that this is spiritual work, it's telepathic work, it's metaphysical work, it's public health work, it's justice work. It lends itself to so many things, and so it's going to take time. But that's why I brought all the tools, and I have different ways of getting to things, and so hopefully it'll be something that is ongoing, a lifelong unraveling.
Thank you so much. I love the idea that it's kind of in our DNA and our roots, and I appreciate you.
Of course. Yeah.
So I think that was our last question, and we want to thank you, Tricia.
Nice. Thank y'all for
we
look,
needed
everybody's
this.
here. It's so beautiful.
We needed this.
I appreciate it. Yes. Thank y'all for coming. I hope you'll love the book and gift it and have it in community, read it together, and
take your time with it. I
Yeah.
mean, take your time and look at every page.
Yeah.
No detail here is accidental.
No.
This book has its own font.
all the fonts are original.
Yes.
All the fonts were made by Black typographers, all original for the book. The front of the font, he drew this and painted it out.
This is her actual handwriting.
That's my handwriting in the book. It's a typography organization that works with Black designers that the designers are part of. And I was like, I don't want the typography for all of the big things, like when you think about, for instance, at the top of each is this thing, I was like, I don't want that stuff that's in the computer, y'all just gonna press. I want everything to be made for the book. He was like, I'll draw it. I'll draw everything out. And so it was a group of designers who would show me different things. So these fonts are Nat Ministry fonts. So it's special in that way.
So thank you for this
Yes.
gift of love.
Thank
we receive
you.
it. Do we not?
Thank you to Tayari. Thank you to Tricia. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to First Baptist Church of Decatur and to the Georgia Center for the Book. We have just a very few books left, it sounds like. Y'all been buying them. Thank you. We have 2 books of the new book left, which is a wonderful problem. You can order more from us. There are also signed Rest is Resistance books back there. All of Tayari's books are available and signed. Thank you all again so much for coming. Have a great night and be safe out there.
I got your 5. Oh, but you got mine. Okay. But you know what? If other people want them, do.